Welcome everybody, and now that the first puzzle has been solved, I can make a quick recap on how it was done so that everyone who wants to play along in the next one can see what happened in Hunt 1. Now, to be entirely honest, I don't know exactly how it was solved entirely. I was able to listen in on most of it and see text recording of how some of it was gone and through and in what order, but I don't know everything, so this will be a little bit of how I interpreted it, plus how I intended it to be solved here at the end. Hunt 1 launched on February 5th, though, 2026 at 1:15 p.m. when I shared a link to a YouTube playlist titled Zombies Guides. These were shared as people had started to play Black Ops 3, and I wanted to give some short videos on how to unlock things around the map Shadows of Evil, as it's not necessarily beginner friendly in my opinion. Needless to say, it is one of my favorite maps, though, thus the beginning of this hunt. The playlist had originally 3 videos, just Spawn Junction full open, Canals full open, and Footlight full open, each depicting how to open the area in a single beast mode. What wasn't caught until later was that there were codes hidden throughout them. A week after posting a link to this playlist, I shared a meme on February 12th at 2:05 p.m. that hid a single text in white that was difficult to spot, and I suspect no one saw it at this time. The numbers, when translated with 1 equals A and 26 equals Z in a standard A1Z26 cipher, or an alphanumeric cipher as it's more commonly known, results in the message, "Look out for these." 5 days later, I shared another image with another code, this one letters, and harder to decode, and probably just as difficult to spot though. It was a Caesar cipher this time, which is a basic substitution cipher where each letter is replaced with the letter n letters next to it. So right next to it, 2 to the right, 3 to the right, anywhere from 1 to 25. For if you go 26 letters either right or left, you simply end up where you started. And this one wasn't simply a Caesar cipher though, because it wasn't a single shift. And I actually messed up and made the shifts negative instead of positive, so I apologize there. But by shifting back 1 letter, the first word is decoded. And by shifting back 2, the second, and so on and so forth. The resulting phrase shows, "Have you found the other codes yet?" Which I can confidently answer was no at this time. 2 days later, I changed my Discord status to, "For those of you who may call themselves divers, the game has started and the prize awaits. Good luck." I expect no one saw this, and I believe no one even noticed it till I pointed it out when I noticed that people had started the hunt. A few more days later, though, on February 21st at 7:50 p.m., I sent another meme with a pretty easy to spot code in the bottom. I suspect this is exactly where the puzzle originally discovered, as 2 hours and 5 minutes later, the same exact day, a Discord channel called Straight Pondering It was created with the number sequence as the only message. This is moderately unfortunate timing though, at least for me, as I was uploading the second hunt at the same time actually, so a couple more videos were showing up in the playlist as you might have saw earlier. The second message in the channel was plain text of the number sequence. The guides show to get a prize as well. And from this point onwards, I know that the members Reflux and Varden Firesoul were aware of the hunt and were working together to figure out what all was there. First thing to be found in the Zombies Guides playlist was a description of the Footlight video. This was promptly found, noted, and then, with help from a comment I left, I presume, a link to a PDF was found, and it was totally forgotten that we found this cipher to begin with. The PDF described how a checkerboard cipher worked, including a sample and practice problem. Thinking that this was actually a checkerboard, they were confused at first until Canals fell, and they found in the description there a link to a Google Doc which had Morse code in it, which was translated immediately to, "The map is key. Then, once again with help from the comment, the words Shadow Man and 15 were found. But they were actually the second and third message in the video, as the first read, plain text contains blank and blank, in which the blanks were in the exact spots the other two words would appear later in the video. Before any other decoding was found, there was more discoveries rolling in with the Spawn Junction video. A description holding another A1Z26 number string translated to, "With video proof, you win the prize." After watching the entire video at 1/4 speed, which I was happy to witness, by the way, Varden also found the main quote-unquote lock in this puzzle. A text stream of 2 characters at a time that looks like this. This actually marks the point in which all the clues have been found, and the solve could commence. And since the PDF earlier was thoroughly read through and examined, the junction text was easily established as a checkerboard cipher. So a quick recap on what tools and ciphers and keys maybe we have at our disposal. We have a PDF on checkerboard ciphers, Morse code saying the map is key. Evidently, the plain text contains Shadow Man and 15. With video proof, you win the prize. The ciphertext of a checkerboard cipher from previously mentioned, and then the first string they found, the ciphertext from Footlight's description. After immediately plugging in Shadow Man and 15 and finding where they fit in the checkerboard cipher, they went back and decoded the Footlight cipher just mentioned while looking for more clues or hints, but instead discovered, in fact, that there was a single prize at the end. After a Caesar shift of plus 14 or 12, depending which way you were going, the plain text read, "Whomever is the first completion of the niche fact gets $20. I know, right? I'm so incentivizing, and broke donations are welcome. Interesting wording, niche fact, but they understood immediately, as the checkerboard cipher has 2 words that were used as coordinates, and they were suspected to be both niche and facts. Debating on splitting the puzzle briefly before deciding mostly to do so, they continued to decode the checkerboard and fill in the keyed alphabet, and Reflux decoded the final message first. If you shoot the Shadow Man at the beginning of the game, you can skip to round 15, was the plain text. And then after sending me footage of completion, we have the prize sent out to the first hunt concluded. Now, this is pretty straightforward, and there were ample clues to solve this main cipher and many ways to decode it, actually. So let me show you a little bit of another way. The PDF is clear, so I won't discuss that, and they use the canal hint of the plain text inclusions to decode the checkerboard. And everything else kind of fell into place somewhat easily. Minus one thing. The map is key. This was never used in their solve and simply sat there after they figured it out. And now I didn't expect them to use it to solve it, but they could have. And I highly encourage, if you have an already solved cipher, figuring out what the key or intended way of deciphering it would have been. This would rule out unnecessary information or already used information from previously found situations, including the map is key. For if we look at the checkerboard after inputting the correct locations for Shadow Man and 15, you may notice something about the word in the square that used to hide the text, or rather, words. Shadow is pretty easily seen as the first 6 letters in this keyed alphabet. But it isn't just Shadow, as after Shadow would be B and then C and so on and so forth, but instead is F and then E. Instead, the key, as shown here, fills in quite nicely to have Shadow, F, Evil, and then the rest of the alphabet. Now, the student among you might notice the beginning looks a lot like Shadows of Evil because, in fact, without the duplication of letters, such as the second S in Shadows and the O in of, it is simply Shadows of Evil. All that to say, the key to this checkerboard cipher was Shadows of Evil simply the entire time. The key was the map in the videos. The map is key. Now, I thank you all for watching this brief recap, and I hope you enjoyed the fun. Once again, shout out to Reflux for being our first winner, and for Varden for participating in it as well. Anyone is welcome to join the second hunt, as there is currently another one that can be solved right now, and it starts in the same Zombies Guides playlist. All who call themselves divers are welcome, and I wish you luck on your expeditions.